We really appreciate you joining us today. PMG likes to do regular webinars focused on whether it be general ideas on IT or specific projects our clients are working on. Today is going to be one of those. It's ones we really enjoy talking about. It's the success that our own clients have had leveraging the platform and some of the really cool things they're doing out there in the business world. So again, it's 2015. So we're going to go back a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Okay, we're not that far, and it's not that long ago because we're only going back to 2015, but I felt like I really needed to get at least one Star Wars reference in before the end of the day. I'm your host. My name is Russell Miller. I'm a business development manager here at PMG. I have the great pleasure of working with a lot of folks who come to PMG and want to talk about business processes and how they can overcome some of the challenges that they're having within their organization. Be honest, this picture is dated. I do have a lot more gray hair now, as people like to point out. So it's kind of an old shot here. So our agenda. Well, first of all, we're going to talk about the value of BPA and what that means. And then we're going to get into our 3 case studies. Again, we're going all the way back to 2015. So in 2015, Parsons Corporation tackled onboarding employees. So that's one that we get a lot of inquiries about and a lot of people looking to solve that challenge. So today's the day you get to hear about how a really large organization really made that a reality. We're also going to talk about First Franklin Financial and how they automated proof of claims processing. If you haven't heard of proof of claims before, I hadn't either until they tackled this project. So you're going to learn something about that today. Finally, we're going to talk about General Mills and how they tackled the challenge of streamlining the process for new product development. So quick word about PMG. PMG is a business process automation platform, and we enable our clients to build codeless solutions to tackle business challenges. By configuring forms, dashboards, and drag and drop workflow integration, they're able to build out processes from end to end. So that's quite a mouthful. So I'd like to thank the marketing folks for giving me all that. What I'd like to say is the basic gist is we like to help businesses do more business, and we provide a platform for them to do that on. You can see some of the processes here that we like to point out: infrastructure management, solutions, service catalog, which many of you know us for, and which Gartner and Forrester have consistently rated us highest in that particular space. Case management, and also business process automation, which is our theme here today and what we'll be talking about. So I described briefly the 3 case studies that we're going to be addressing: onboarding, proof of claims processing, new food, product development, all really disparate processes. But what did they have in common? I think for all 3 of these particular clients, that initial tackling of the project probably felt like standing at the bottom of El Capitan and knowing that they had to climb the mountain. Just a really daunting task, and that's what many of you are facing out there within your organizations. You know there's processes that need to be streamlined, processes that are very manual, they're outdated, they're inefficient, but you just don't know how to tackle them, so you feel like you're looking up this giant mountain. So you're not alone. What all 3 of these clients also realize is that it should be easy to get the tools you need to do your job, and that these processes that they were going to improve upon were really hard, and it should be easy. They asked themselves, why is it so hard to do these things? And so they leverage the platform to make them checkmark easy. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right into the first one, which is our Parsons case study. Parsons is, for those who aren't familiar with the enterprise, they're founded in 1944 in Southern California. They are a engineering, construction, technical management services firm. They have employees globally. They have a really large footprint, and they have really thousands and thousands of employees. And being such a large entity, they move a lot of people into their system every year, on average of about 5,000 new hires a year. So really big number, and their process, which they did have a process for onboarding, but it was really manual and it involved a lot of manual tasks, and it was really inefficient, and it took a long time to actually get somebody onboarded. So they set themselves one major goal, which was to make the first hour of employees first day productive. I mean, that's a pretty tall order. I don't know how many folks had a productive first day at all, but let alone the first hour of your first day. So it was a really lofty goal, and I applaud them for taking such a stretch assignment, as we like to call them. But some of their challenges were that they, again, had thousands of employees worldwide, and it was taken on average almost 68,000 labor hours per year to onboard these 5,000 people. And again, as I mentioned, that is because of all the manual tasks and the manual systems. So prior to implementing a solution, they had to find something to build a solution on. They didn't have what they needed in-house, and so the Parsons Talent Management team approached the process re-engineering team, and they together began searching for providers. What they were going to require was a company that could provide an interface or a platform that would interface with pre-existing systems, that eliminated the need for coding, and offer robust workflow management, and provided the workflow management. Additionally, they needed a tool that was going to be able to provide advanced reporting and monitor tasks and track performance. So there was a lot of requirements that would be necessary to fulfill. I guess what we all know, and we're presenting about it today, is that they chose PMG. So the PMG portal was chosen. They had all their processes in place, and they had to figure out how to now streamline that and make it more efficient within the PMG tool. And what they were able to do was automate 30 of the processes that were part of the onboarding. They had system and application access requests, hardware and software provision requests, service requests, network access, workspace assignment. All these things were part of the onboarding process, and now they can do this with just a few clicks. They were able to get rid of spreadsheets, a lot of manual tasks such as phone calls and emails, and ultimately by tackling it in this fashion, they were able to virtually eliminate the miscommunications that were consistently happening between IT, HR, and other departments. They also needed the tool to have a lot of integration capability. And so as part of the onboarding process, there's actual integrations to Service Desk, their Service Desk suite, their Asset Management suite, to Active Directory and SharePoint, and also to the procurement system. Because of all the integration, now they're able to track the metrics in real time and they can evaluate performance of how people are performing. Here's where rubber meets the road. What did all this effort generate? Well, it generated a 56% reduction in onboarding time. So what does that mean? That's, in real numbers, that's 37,000 labor hours a year saved. I think anybody can probably break out the calculator, figure out your average labor hour, and multiply that by 37,000, and you get a pretty big number. So the point is that the ROI is very quick on entering into this particular project, and it had a dramatic effect by tackling such a complex process. And now they believe that they have the best first day experience of any employer, and their goal is, again, to have that person have a productive first hour and they feel like they've gotten there. So that's all for them. So let's talk about a case that is very different from the first one. So we have a client, First Franklin Financial. They're a financial institution based in the southeastern United States. They have roughly 280 loan offices. And they offer a variety of loans. They cover basically everything from medical bills to wedding expenses to cars and boats, etc. As I said, they were already a client of PMG, and they were leveraging our enterprise service platform to automate some HR processes and some onboarding tasks. So they were doing a little bit of what Parsons eventually did, but First Franklin was already doing. But what they really had a pain point with was proof of claims processing. So proof of claims, just to get everybody on the same page, that's when somebody files for bankruptcy, and every institution that loaned up for some money needs to quickly stake a claim. That way they can avoid a financial loss. And the faster you stake your claim, the more likely you are to recoup some of your funds. So these losses clearly affect the financial standing of a bank or a lending institution. And so the bank needs to react quickly, they have to have speed, and then they have to have clear visibility into its proof of claims filing. That way it can protect its investments and the bottom line. So what was the goal? The goal was to create operational visibility to ensure financial viability. They want to be able to see the process, how quickly are people processing proof of claims, who's filing proof of claims, are we tracking our metrics, and they needed that as part of this project. The challenges were that right now, at the time, it was a very manual process. It was basically a download of a CSV file on a daily basis to a third-party system, and then manually people would parse out to the various branches proof of claims that needed to be done. So it was a prolonged process. Upwards of 4 hours a day were spent just parsing out all the proof of claims. Once they got to the branch offices, they had inconsistent procedures at each office, and this generated a whirlwind of protocols and email because people weren't doing it the same way at every location. Ultimately, management had very little visibility into what people were doing as far as filing their claims and their jobs done. And so it led an era of instability to the bank on this particular process. So what do we need to do is what they asked themselves. We need to streamline the process, and that meant centralizing and automating the process. So when they decided to leverage the tool that they already had, which is PMG, they were able to upload all the bankruptcy filings every morning. And then this data was into the tool and make that data available for all reports and forms. So now the people that were parsing out the claims could do it either manually or they could do it automatically. The central interface was the single pane of glass where everybody involved with proof of claims processing would go to the same portal, and so they would be able to track what was happening there. All activities done by resources would then trigger notifications, such as proof of claims process at a branch. As soon as that was done, it would trigger automatic notifications back to that home office so that they would know that it was done, and it would close out the procedure. This standardized process is across the organization. And once in place, they now can really focus on continuous process improvement. What were the results? Again, where did the rubber meet the road? Well, they had 99.6% reduction in proof of claims report processing time. So that's 99.6%. It's hard to put actual time to that, so this is as close as we could get. Basically 4 hours to 1 minute for proof of claims report processing. So a tremendous increase in efficiency around this particular process, which had been a pain for them for years. The result, better visibility. Because each action that somebody does as part of the process is tracked, if there's a snag, they know where to look. If there's a delay, they know where to look. And now they have complete visibility across the process. Also, another benefit, reduced risk. And so this ensures the financial viability of the bank. So our third and final victory in 2015 we'll talk about is the General Mills product development life cycle. So we all know General Mills. They make Cheerios for one thing, so I think everybody on this call is probably eating Cheerios or they feed their kids Cheerios on a daily basis. General Mills produces a lot more industry. They actually make 100 brands in more than 100 countries on 6 continents around the world. I thought that was an interesting fact that they made a point of 6 continents. I guess they don't do anything in Antarctica other than send the explorers down there with some Cheerios in their backpacks. The challenge that General Mills is facing is that this 150-year-old company, things don't tend to move very fast. And so smaller companies, smaller and faster companies can come into the market and steal market share. There used to be a really high barrier for entry in getting into this market. You'd have to do marketing on TV, on radio, sponsor football games. And now there's very little market barriers to entry into this particular industry. People can leverage the internet, they can leverage Facebook and social mediums and become very big very quickly. And ultimately, General Mills is forced to either come out with competitive products or they may buy those companies. So one better goal would be for them was to get new products to market faster. But first, those products have to be invented. That's where the product development life cycle project came into existence. The goal was to get those, as I said, get those new products to market faster. The problem is that the challenges around that were that most of the departments were siloed. And again, they bought other companies that just contributed to the issue. But by having siloed departments, you didn't have the visibility and for resources that needed to be used to develop and test and build new products across the organization. They didn't have metrics, and they had a lot of unconnected data. And by that I mean they might have to fill out 5 different forms with basically the same information just to go run tests and develop new products. So it was a very disjointed process. As they said, there was literally a guy walking around with a spreadsheet scheduling people for copies on various manufacturing equipment. So as you can imagine, this was work for automation and efficiency gains. The vision that they had was to consolidate all the different requests, which were, as I said, 5, 10, the exact number of requests could vary depending on what equipment they were using and what ingredients they were going to need, et cetera. But it was a lot of forms that were filled out. And so they wanted to consolidate all that into just one simple form. So that way it would be easier and more efficient experience for all the developers, improve collaboration internally and externally, and to provide integrated data from all service groups and global partners. Making a new product is no simple task. This is very complex. You need materials, you need ingredients, you need time on the machine, packaging and sanitation considerations have to be made. In some cases, you might have one department that was building a product and would order 300 pounds of sugar and 500 pounds was the minimum, so they'd order 500 pounds of sugar. Another department needed 200 pounds of sugar, but they would order 500 pounds of sugar as well. So we have 1,000 pounds of sugar when we only needed 500 pounds between the 2 departments. When they didn't have that visibility before, this was happening on a regular basis, a lot of redundancy. And so now they've streamlined the process so that they have a lot better visibility into this. Ultimately, they've reduced redundant data by 75%. This drives a lot of cost out of the process because they're not ordering too much of the ingredients, because they're not scheduling time at the same time as somebody else, because everybody is in the same system and has visibility across the enterprise. So big win there. So let's get back to the future. We went back in time, now we're at 2016. What New Year's resolutions can you make improvements like this? 56% reduction in time to onboard people. 99.6% reduction in the time needed to file claims and proof of claims processing. 75% reduction in redundant data. These are all huge numbers. These are really big wins for these organizations. So I encourage you to look around your enterprise. What challenges do you see yourself, or what do you hear from others that, given the opportunity, you feel like your team could provide a solution? What are some of the 2016 business initiatives and needs, and how can automation help? I'll leave you with, before I take some questions, with a couple of pieces of advice. We've done this for a while here at PMG, and so first thing we'll tell you is believe in process. It's like climbing that mountain that we saw at the beginning. So long as you have the right strategy and the tools, you can reach the summit. But you have to believe in process. And when you're doing process, understand that things change. I think this slide clearly illustrates that, that things change over time. If you're evaluating technologies to solve business process challenges, just understand that the day you start automating them is the day the requirements, the systems, or the people are going to change. Now, hopefully they don't pursue the dark side, but people do change. So when you're considering technologies, look for flexibility so that you can make changes down the road so that what you build today isn't irrelevant 2 years down the road. So with that, I'm going to take some questions. I don't know if everybody would rather look at the HOP or look at the Star Wars slide. I think I'll leave it on the Star Wars slide for now. That's my second Star Wars reference in one webinar. I'm going to look down in the chat window if you can bear with me for a second. So this is in relation to the Parsons. Do they also do offboarding? That's a great question because we actually do get that quite a lot. People are always looking to onboard. And you think about when you onboard something, you provision them access into SAP and you give them access to certain systems and you provide them with these different tools that they need to do their job. What happens when they leave? We might get the tools back, we might get the phone back, the laptop back, the phone stays on the desk. And have you left them access in the systems? Or have you left their credentials out there in SAP and other systems that they don't need to be in? So in this particular case, I don't know the answer. I'll get the answer whether Parsons uses the same tool to do offboarding. But I can tell you that we do get this inquiry, and we consult on this a lot, is that you can both onboard people and you can offboard. And when you offboard people, you want to deprovision them out of systems. So they're not taking up licenses. In some cases, this is a real cost savings on a really big enterprise. If you leave hundreds and thousands of people in systems that have licensing costs, then you're really wasting a lot of money. What systems did General Mills integrate with? Another good question, and the short answer on this one is that the systems that we integrated with were really just data sources. This particular project was essentially completely outside of IT. Because there wasn't a need to write tickets, there wasn't a need to integrate with ERP. The scheduling had been done manually before, so really this one was about consolidating data and getting data from various data sources and pulling all that information back into the form. So it was the integrations were more generic integrations with retrieving data, and that's a capability that PMG has, made the capability to go ahead and retrieve data from external sources and pull it back in. Great question. How long do these projects take? And I'm glad that one came up because I actually talked to the delivery managers earlier today to get the I kind of anticipated somebody might say, well, how long did it take? So in the case of all three of these, the average was around 3 months. One was a good bit longer, and one was a good bit shorter, and one was right around 3 months. And that was for us conceptualizing and whiteboarding and saying, this is our process, and these are the goals, this is what we need to achieve, to actually being in production and having the user interacting with the system and making things work. Any more questions? Come on, chat me up. All right. Well, it looks like everybody would like to get back to work. We don't have any other questions. Please feel free to send any questions directly to me. My email is rmiller@PMG.net, and I'm happy to entertain any further questions you might have. So I, again, thank you very much for spending your time with me here today on the PMG webinar. and have a great afternoon or morning or evening, depending on where you are.